In this video, I'm going to share on how to automate your tuition business in 2025. So you might have a lot of things to do. Reply to students, reply to parents, create social media content, mark students' paper, update learning materials, need to do accounting, all of that because March is coming soon, right? So there's a lot of things to do. And you might be wondering, is there a day where I can just work on the business, have AI to do every single task that I need to do? And the thing is, super possible, right? And to give just realistic expectations, you have to do the manual work first, right? And then slowly you can take off certain tasks. So I'm going to share this simple process on how to do that. Instead of working in the business, you can work on the business and hopefully automate most or even everything out of the business itself. I mean, if I would do it, I would lah, but there are certain constraints which maybe I will share later on in this video. So to get started on how to automate your business is number one, to document. So what would a document look like when I ask you, how do you reply to parents, right? So most of you might be actually doing this already. Oh, I know the parents, I know the students, I can reply very easily. But if I were to ask you to tell to an admin, how would you do it in a simple Google Docs, right? And simple instructions. So usually how it looks like is number one, you should have this thing called a knowledge base. So knowledge base is essentially a way for you to find information that you can use to do your work, right? So for questions, I call it FAQ, or frequently asked question, so that if an admin or someone who has a question of from a customer, maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a student, then they can answer it on behalf of you. So you don't have to do much. And the best thing is that now there is AI that can actually help you to answer. So if you don't have this, I recommend you to do this. But the premise of this whole video is to, number one, how to document. Create a document, right? Just create a document on how to build the process, right? So if you want, a video about how to create, I call it a standard operating procedure or SOP, put a comment down below SOP. I don't know, right? So once you have this done, I think this saves a lot of time. And this is, I call it a living document, meaning that it will update along the way because, business grows and changes through time. That's fundamentally how business is or life is. Second is that I'll tell the admin if you find similar questions, because a lot of time the questions are not exactly what you see in the FAQ, right? Then just answer it kindly with emojis. So just answer it. For example, a parent might ask, what are the time slots for this, class? And then this is where the admin or even the AI is able to look at your FAQ document and answer kindly with emojis. Why emojis? Because it makes, in a way, it will build rapport, because when you see a smiley face, then people are a bit more chill, a bit more nicer to you, because you have a smiley face, and that's why I call it, that's why we have emojis. I mean, I've done customer support before in my previous business. And the thing is that there are times where you can't find the question in the FAQ or in your knowledge base, and that's very normal. So the next thing is that this is where I would recommend to empower, which later on I will share. Empower your admin or even your AI to come up with three suggestions, and this is where you empower this software or people to think on your behalf, right? And this allows you to not be in the business, in the weeds of the business, because it takes time for you to think about what the answer is, because now you're leveraging on someone's brain to come up with three suggestions. Why three suggestions? Because this admin or AI will recommend you one, and if the recommendation is not that good, then maybe you can see the other two. And this is where you are, in a way, helping them learn what to expect in terms of replying. And once this is done, then they can say, okay, why this one they recommend is good. And your job as a business owner, business leader, is to just say yes or no, right? And that's it. So 80% of the work is them, 20% is maybe to you, because you need to see how they answer as well. Other than that, it's okay. And then what you saw was what we call a document or standard operating procedure, SOP. So this allows you to now have something to work on, that if the admin leave and another one came in, they know how to answer because they have this document. So I recommend to go to this YouTube channel. I'm learning a lot from this, because it's like I kind of know how to create processes, but she really dives deep into like processes and how to scale in a small business, which a lot of tuition businesses are, right? So I recommend to go into this. So, but if you need help, then we can link in the description below, and then we can help you, right? So, if you don't have an SOP, then create one, right? It's pretty simple, right? So just create one SOP that you are doing on a daily or weekly basis, because this is where you can, the next step, delegate. So you shouldn't be doing anything that's not worth your time. So what's worth your time generally, right? Worth your time is you using the brain to improve or grow the business. That's it. If it doesn't improve the business, if it doesn't grow the business, then usually find someone to delegate, right? So, and there's many ways to delegate, but this I would say is a more simpler way to do it now. So generally, I would tend to say don't have an admin, hire, because the admin will help you to do a lot of these stuff, like for example, chasing payments from invoices, texting students, texting parents, answering questions. This is a lot of things that doesn't really grow the business. It's just admin work. So hire an admin. And does this admin need to be physical? If it is, then you can hire an admin for full time or even part time. Or the best to me is hire your students as admin, because they know the business already, and they can be a nice way to work with you, because usually students are young, they're open to suggestions, and they are much more nicer, like generally lah, if you hire well, right? Don't have an admin, hire. So the second thing is to create a meeting for the process if you don't have an SOP yet, which is very normal. So what I'll do is that probably this is from Leila, right? So I will sit down with the person. This is from Leila. You sit down with the person, and then after that, you just create a meeting for just one process. So for example, the process is frequently asked questions. So you sit down, and then maybe at your end you create a bunch of frequently asked questions and answers, and then ask your admin to create an SOP behind it, which I previously have shown you. And then after that, if you don't have the document, you can even ask the admin to create a document for you as well. So these are things that now you are empowering them to do, and you go through with the admin, which is the IC. So the admin is now the in charge for all of these frequently asked question, right? And I recommend to record a meeting, because nobody, remembers everything you have discussed. So record a meeting so they know or can reference back if they are not sure, right? If they reference back the video and there's something missing, of course you can ask you, right? And the IC then create the SOP, and now, the best part is the admin will be in charge of the SOP. So this allows you to empower the employees, and at the same time for you, you don't have to worry about this part of the workflow, the process, because they are in charge of it. So anything to do with the SOP, whether there are certain things that they missed out, which is very normal, because we are humans, and when situation comes in, then you just update the SOP. And the thing is that this SOP, you need to point it to the IC, the in charge. So the admin is in charge of this SOP. So if there's anything wrong, they have responsibility to take and also update the SOP. So mistakes, very normal. Mistakes are just lessons, and just update the SOP so that in the future, when things happen, the same mistake won't happen again. And then this is something that you are growing. That's why SOPs are called living documents. And that's how you build a business that you can lastly automate. Oh, the favorite part of things, right? So to automate certain things, you can either DIY or hire. So if you're someone who has technical background, then I think DIY can be a very good first step, but I would recommend to hire. So DIY, if you are new to creating automations or even using a software, it is usually a steep learning curve. What I recommend is to hire someone who is competent. So it doesn't have to be very experienced. It can be your student who is already like inside computer science, classes, or they are already very good with computers. You just hire them, because usually it's faster and better. Because if you don't have experience, of course, it's not gonna be fast, because you need to learn. Like I say, it's a steep learning curve, and at the same time, you will make mistakes, right? That sometimes you haven't had experience before. So this takes a long time. That's why hiring will be very, very good. So I would also recommend, if there's any existing software for you to actually automate certain parts of the process or even the whole process itself, then I would recommend you to do it, right? And the thing is that you are automating based on the SOP, right? And this, in a way, gives a better sense of how things are going to be done, right? So, for example, your SOP for FAQ, you have a Google Doc, and that's it, like Google Doc, and then you have all the different SOP. And the thing is, the SOP itself can be instructions that you can give to AI to actually answer questions for you. So not only does this help to a physical admin, your AI is able to answer or even automate certain parts of the processes that you have documented in an SOP. And the thing is that sometimes automation don't work because we are still in the early stage of automation. People say late stage. I would say it's early stage. And sometimes automation don't work, or they might not work as what you expected. And that's where you can go back to the SOP as a backup, because this is where you reduce the risk of making mistakes. Or if there are certain things that happens, you have a backup. So a lot of times people say, I want to automate. Automate is like, sure, you can automate, but what are the steps? What is the SOP for this? Because if you know the SOP and you see it as a whole, do you think automation helps, or do you think this is not really something that, because automation means you need to take care of it. You can't just, oh yeah, automation, it will deal with it. Like, you need to take care of it. Sometimes software breaks, which happens, and this is where you go back to your SOP, right? So this is a lot of things to think about, right? But most of the time, your business, a good business in the future, is where you just have a bunch of SOPs. Because a lot of times people come and go, right? In my previous business, a lot of people come and go. But I think it's one thing that I didn't do well was that I created, SOPs or documentation on how to do certain things, whether it's sales, whether it's marketing, whether it's teaching, operations. But once I created the SOP in my business, right? When I leave, then now they know what to do with it. And then the thing is that with the SOP, you can automate certain things as well. So this allows you to, in a way, make your business a bit more, I would say, foolproof, more robust. Robust meaning that if something don't work, your business won't fail because there are things as backup. Your SOP is there already, right? Like, you cannot F up a Google Doc, right? If your automation don't work for some reason, then you can go back to SOP, and your business can run. And people who are in charge of different SOP, if the automation don't work, they can go back to the SOP. So you should be the last person to solve a lot of things. Like, you should only solve problems that no one can solve, right? If someone can solve, then build SOP, hire them freelance, 1 hour, 2 hours per week, that kind of thing, and then let them do it. So you can focus on growing the business. What can you do to scale the business to maybe multiple centers, more subjects, more levels, right? From maybe teaching secondary to primary. So that's your focus. That is what you should do. If you can find someone to do it for you, great. But generally, once you're able to use the time that you have back, when you create SOPs, when you hire, when you automate, you can actually grow the business. And that's what we do. All right. EduGrow. Scale your business, impact more students. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want more of this, kind of subscribe down below and comment down on what is one thing that you learned that you're going to implement later on. With that said, see you in the next one. Bye bye.